On this episode of Kevin Goes, I'll be taking you on a journey on the Scarborough RT that sadly closed in July of 2023. It was loud, clunky, and at many times unreliable. And its history goes back to the 1970s. Originally, the TTC intended this to be a streetcar line. However, the provincial government of Ontario and Go Transit wanted to use the Scarborough line as a testing bed for the Intermediate Capacity Transit System, the ICTS. What would have originally been a streetcar line, it would have used the CLRVs that you would have seen on the streets of Toronto. However, they would have been modified to use pantographs. And by a few political moves, it was decided that the LRT would become completely grade separated and open up the testbed for the ICTS, and became the Scarborough RT as we knew it. Traveling between Kennedy and McCowan stations, with stops at Lawrence East, Ellesmere, Midland, and Scarborough Town Centre. This was an incredibly important line to the people of Scarborough, connecting them from the suburbs to downtown Toronto. And while it was an extremely loud ride, it connected those in the suburbs to Kennedy Station far more frequent than any bus could. Now join me as we travel from Kennedy Station to McCowan Yards before its untimely closure in July of 2023. Hello and welcome to my channel, Kevin Goes. I'm your host, naturally Kevin, and I take you on adventures via transit or cycling. And transit being just about anything, whether it's subway, a train, an airplane, or maybe even a boat. Who knows if that'll even happen. But this one is a long overdue video about the Scarborough. Woof, okay? This is a video about the Scarborough RT in Scarborough, Ontario. And for those that know, that'll be the only audio clip of the RT I'll play, because it's just that bad. So we'll get right into it. This is Kennedy Station, and this was originally designed to be a streetcar platform, and that was converted to just being a single track for the new technology that they used. While this video won't dive deep into the technology, we are going to go station to station and document the Scarborough RT as it is slated to close in November of 2023. Our Janes Walk leader, Netherson, took us down to the middle level of Kennedy Station, where the TTC hung up historical photos of its construction and what it looked like before its blue livery. Now, if you're neither from the East End or from Scarborough, Kennedy Station is the connector between the two. And the RT served to connect the suburb of Scarborough with downtown Toronto via the subway line, Line 2. Kennedy is also host to many bus lines, but we're going to hop on the RT and get going. The unique situation with the RT at Kennedy Station, or at least the idea, was to exit on one side and enter from the other, otherwise known as a Spanish solution. Of course, etiquette on transit sometimes just completely fails. Anyway, let's get on, or I just missed my train. But I guess I'll just edit myself on. As we depart Kennedy Station, the turn is really loud, and I decided to keep that in. It really showcases how this was kind of an afterthought and a poorly executed transit line. But despite all of that, this was so beloved by the community as it was a quick connection between town center and Kennedy Station. I don't know about you, but I much prefer the train over the bus. And I don't hate buses. I just love comfort. And trains. It's a train. It's awesome. It's a train. Much of the RT's right-of-way is along industrial corridors. Our first stop is Lawrence East. And this is the only stop that we actually get off and take a look around, as it's one of the more interesting ones, besides Midland. So these stations were designed in the 1980s. They are not accessible, nor were they ever planned to be, as they expected this line to shut down years ago. However, because City Hall completely waffling what they wanted to do, they decided to keep it going, as any alternative didn't seem to work. And there was a huge lack of political will of designing a replacement. And not even to mention, there's a complete lack of will just for transit in general in Toronto. Lawrence East Station seemed like there was an attempt to modernize and bring it to the 21st century. I was also shocked to hear all but 2 of the stations were not accessible. Kennedy and Town Center being the only 2 with elevators. And also check out this sweet jacket. TTC also loved the idea of pushing this as a subway. This was possibly done as a way to promote this as a fast and efficient solution for Scarborough. A few weeks ago, despite the RT being closed, I did a walk along around the route. And there's really not much to see around these stations, and there are huge overpasses and long roundabout ways to get to the station entrances. This just seems like a nightmare for people in wheelchairs and accessibility needs. As we continue on to Ellesmere, we get to see more utility and industrial land. While many of these stations are of no interest to most daily riders, they do connect people to their jobs and the communities that surround these stations. Ellesmere is one of the bare-bones stations of the 6, and I highly believe everybody on this platform are part of this Jane's Walk. And one of the coolest features, as you leave Ellesmere, you head down into a subway. The subway is just a bypass just to get underneath the GO trains. As soon as we get past that, we pop back up on the elevated guideway that takes us all the way to McCowan Station. Midland Station is by far my personal favorite of the 6 stations. While we'll get a view of the exterior later on in this video, this station's super unique in that you can get on either at the east or west side of Midland. This station really served to connect people to many of the factories in the area. It also provided pretty iconic views of the guideway going towards Scarborough Town Center. Nitherson also explained that Midland Station would sometimes smell like boiled cabbage and soggy cardboard, and that would be because of the factory next door. And apparently there's a candle that mimics the smell. And a neat relic from the past, they kept up an old express lane sign. But let's not dwell here too much longer. Let's head back on the train and on our way to Scarborough Center Station. Arriving at Scarborough Center Station, you're greeted by a wonderful art exhibition called Intersections, which features work from 6 emerging Scarborough photographers. While no longer accessible, you can check out the art at scarborougharts.com. Scarborough Center Station serves as a hub for all walks of life that live in and around Scarborough. The station serves as a huge transfer point for TTC buses, GO Transit, and at one point, the Greyhound, which no longer operates. It's also wildly busy because of Scarborough Town Center Mall, which is directly attached to the station. And also that damn jacket again. Netherson also explained what the TTC has in store for Scarborough Center, which basically means a hell of a lot more buses. It was also a great time for many other people to share their stories of using the RT. We hopped back on to the RT platform to head further east. Our next and final stop is McCowan Station. Back in the mid-2000s, there was a plan called Transit City that called to upgrade the technology used on the Scarborough RT to use light rail transit vehicles instead. This would have replaced the trackage, power, and even the trains. This would have also seen the extension all the way to Malvern, Scarborough. While this part of the pedway seems super incomplete, with very little coverage if it were to rain, it does connect you to some of the corporate buildings in the area. It seems completely underused, and now with the line completely out of commission, I hardly think that anybody would use this. However, it does offer passage across Progress Avenue. Big thanks to Nitherson for hosting this Jane's Walk, and going deep into the transit line's history, its importance to Scarborough, and what it could have been. But our journey doesn't end here. Let's head on over to the McCowan Yard during Doors Open, which was hosted a couple weeks after this Jane's Walk. And we're essentially back where we started at the beginning of the video, flying over McCowan Station. However, there was a little bit more to that, so let's head on over to McCowan Yard. All of this was recorded just before I decided I wanted to start this vlog. I had no intention of actually really creating something from this. However, once I created my first vlog about Halifax, I knew what I wanted to do. But I can't go back, but I still wanted to present something from this experience. McCowan Yard is situated east of McCowan Station. As you would expect, it is used for storage and, of course, maintenance. And on this amazing day of Doors Open Toronto, if you have never experienced it, they generally have staff and volunteers of all kinds to be hands-on on the operations of this extraordinary TTC facility. It offers you a chance to sit in the cab, see all the tools that they use, as well as spare parts and little older relics of the past that they don't use anymore. A real astonishing thing that I found was how small the wheels of these trains are compared to the regular subway rolling stock, which might really explain why the RT was so unbelievably loud. In addition to seeing the trucks, they also had couplers that they could actually show in action. They also had many other bits and bobs that were used along the line as well as on the trains. They also gave you a super unique look at the linear induction motor. You could also get great views of all the storage racks that they had, full of parts and accessories to ensure that they could maintain the RT. And would you look at that damn jacket again. There was also a little section that you could step outside and look down the main line of the RT. This was a wonderful, once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to get to see these trains up close outside of revenue service. There was also an opportunity to check out the control center here at McCowan Yards. It was still at this point that no one knew when the RT was to close. However, things changed for the worse 2 months later.
Exactly 1 month after a train derailment, the entire Scarborough RT has been permanently shut down.
Shortly after Doors Open, they did announce that the line was to close in November of 2023. However, on July 24th, there was a major derailment just south of Ellesmere Station. After weeks of investigations, they found that the Kennedy-bound train derailed due to poor maintenance. Bolts on the induction rail had come loose, and because it being a magnetic system, the induction rail rose up and struck the bottom of the train, lifting it off the track. 45 people were on the train, and only 5 injuries. Since that fateful derailment, bus service has replaced the RT. Good morning, everyone. Today's a special episode. It's farewell to the Scarborough RT. And if you don't know what the Scarborough RT is, it's a line that connected Scarborough to downtown Toronto via Kennedy Station. This is just really sad to see. While the TTC has been removing mentions of the RT on its maps and wayfinding, however, we'd like to think that the RT somehow still lives on through its iconic door chime, which was developed for the RT. I didn't grow up in Scarborough, nor Toronto. I grew up in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, where public transit is a complete afterthought. There's a poorly planned out streetcar, infrequent buses, and takes hours to get anywhere. And that's why it's tragic that the Scarborough RT is now closed. While it wasn't perfect, it had better capacity, it was more frequent, and much more comfortable than a cramped bus. Had it been properly funded, it would have been even better than the day it was opened. In a somber farewell, we bid adieu to the Scarborough Rapid Transit System, a transportation lifeline that has woven its tracks into the fabric of Scarborough since 1985. As the RT's final journey comes to a close, transit users in Scarborough face an impending shift. Grappling with the loss of a familiar mode of transport, the closure marks the end of an era, stirring emotions of nostalgia and concern for the community. Commuters now find themselves at the crossroads of change, adapting to new transit landscapes that promise innovation but also present challenges. With memories echoing through its stations, the Scarborough RT's closure leaves an indelible mark on the transit map and in the hearts of those it served. If you've enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing, giving a thumbs up, or dropping a comment for more suggestions of where Kevin can go.